thinking in different ways, changing your perspective, changing the perception, and looking at things at different angles is really a main theme of the videos that I make. I'm a content interactor. I love Flesh and Blood. I love talking about the game, but I want to look at it from my point of view, and I want to have opinions that actually are different from just the mainstream out there, man. And, that's just me. That's who I am. And I really want to talk and rant about this because I think it's a really important subject. Because the content I make isn't supposed to be, this is Bronson's thoughts, and you should believe every word that I'm saying. You should hang on every word, and I'm right about everything. That's not true at all, man. I'm having a discussion. I'm talking about a subject. I'm telling you how I view it. And you know what? The really important thing is you have to realize like some people have different perspectives in life that really are better in certain realms. Like if you want to know about like local game store gameplay and different stuff, you talk to Rob from Tolarian Dropouts or AJ from Adventure Co Gaming, somebody who actually goes to LGS every week or every, more often than I do. And like you have a bunch of different people out there who have different life experiences that really have different perspectives that mean a little, have a different angle on it, man. And this is just how I think. And I think it's really important too, man. I just want to say in the beginning that overall, I think the way I think, and I can definitely be swayed on different things. I've had tons of different discussion videos where I say, you know what, I think this way, and then someone says something in the comments below, and I'm like, you know what, I never thought about it that way. That's a great point. And it just changes my perception of things as well. And that's what I'm talking about with content interactor. A lot of people create stuff. I don't really think I'm creating anything here. I'm just talking out my ass and I'm just talking about my opinion. And I think a big point that I want to make is it's really important when people talk about their opinions and when people relay their ideas to say it respectfully. I might have my opinion, I might curse and I might say some ridiculous shit, but ultimately, I respect everyone's opinion. If you have a different opinion than me, I humbly respect your opinion, but this is mine. And I might sway, here or there, but I think that's a really important thing to do is like overall, bar none, all of us, you hear what you hear, but you respect the opinion. But I want to also note that it's also important to go in with your glass empty. And what I mean is Bruce Lee was a really cool martial artist, but he was a really, he had a lot of wrinkles in his brain as well. He was a philosopher and he had this really cool saying where he's like, hey, in order to taste my cup of water, your cup needs to be empty, or else you can't take any of the water that I'm giving you. And of course, you might take the water and my water, and you might say, "Hey, man, Bronson, I don't, your water doesn't taste good to me. I don't like this water. I like my water," and that's fine. It's just I think that going in with a neutral aspect is really important with a lot of these different subjects. And I really want to transition on the importance of this, man, because ultimately in Flesh and Blood, there's a lot of news and information that's being like circulated and circulated. And what you have to remember is that the news and information that you take on, that you listen to and you hear, you're not you're not the first person to hear this news. And you have to remember that from your point of reference of you hearing this news, there's a bunch of different people before you who've heard that same news. And they have heard it. You don't know how many far back that you've heard that news. And this goes with the secondary market mainly, but a bunch of different things with Flesh and Blood. And with the secondary market, there's this whole thing that I've seen where people are just tunnel visioned into certain products, certain things, and they just focus on certain things at certain times because they hear it from everyone else, and then they get focused in on it. And if you look at this thing through a different way of thinking, if you do a different perception, right? And you just take a step back, and I'm looking at all this shit like, oh my gosh, people are just like going down each, different tunnel visioned product one by one, and things get hyped up, things go down. It's kind of a weird thing. And that's with a lot of things in life, man. It's when things and news and information come to you, you don't have to instantly absorb it. Staying neutral, staying unbiased and asking questions. Asking questions is the most important part, man. Because if you don't ask questions, then you really don't answer things in different ways and just look at them in a different light. Like, why is this thing? Why isn't Crucible War Unlimited being printed in 2021? Why? And when you ask those questions, you get answers. Well, I heard Crucible War had printing issues. There's printing issues, and then it's not being printed in 2021. And now it is being printed in 2021. Why? And could you be wrong when you're answering these questions? Of course. But are you going to be more of a high minded thinker if you ask these questions and you try to answer them? Are you going to get closer to the truth? And the answer is yes. If you take everything on the surface, and this is important, if you look at flesh and blood or anything in life and you just take it for face value, you are not going to know the truth of anything, especially flesh and blood. There's a lot of things on the inner workings, not just the products and everything, but the lore and the artwork especially, and just the mechanics and all these things in the background. If you just take it for face value and just believe everything you're told, you're never going to get close to the truth. And it's gonna be hindrance to, like, just the community in general in my mind. It's like original thought and opinions and ideas are so important, just in life in general, well, but especially, Flesh and Blood, because that's what my channel's about. But I'm just saying that, like, I really hope people will take that away because I've said things on my channel that aren't really popular, and that's fine. I've said things that make people a little bit you know edgy, and I like that. I like poking the bear. I like poking you, and I like when people get agitated enough to comment on my channel and say, Bronson, I don't agree with you because of this, but hey, I respect your opinion. I'll watch more of your videos. That's great. Or I respect your opinion. I don't want to watch your videos. That's fine. But the whole point of it is thinking differently, thinking for yourself, taking your glass that might be full of water or full of any excess material of preconceived beliefs and ideas and opinions and dumping that shit out. And then after you dump that shit out, you're going to be able to retain more water. You're going to be actually be able to like filter that water in a better way by asking questions and figuring out different things. And it's so important. It's so important for anything in life. And I just want to make that clear because I think there's a lot of things on the internet, especially that people have to take an opinion and they have to say, I'm right, regardless of anything. You guys are all wrong. This is how it is, bar none. But that's not true, man. Staying neutral, I think, is one of the best things you can do, especially in situations that you just don't have enough information. Staying neutral is fine. And I've yet to come by a message board where someone says, you know what? I'm neutral. I don't believe either way, but I'm kind of in the middle and I believe both. And and I want to be that guy. I want to do that on the on the Reddit sometime soon or Facebook group. That'll be a lot of fun. Uh I'm definitely doing that shit sometime soon. But it goes to my point is like a lot of people don't do that. It's either like you have to be polarized in this section or polarized in that section. And if you're not polarized in either direction, then you're not like you're it's not really cool. Like, you have to be in or else I guess I feel like the general perception is you're indecisive and you don't know what's going on. And that's the thing that I don't like. And if you think about in the olden days, right, with Socrates and all this shit, he was deemed the most smartest man in the village because he said, I don't know. I don't know things. I like to question. He questioned everything, and he never like ascribed to one thing or another. And that's not the perfect bar that I think you should set yourself to. Is a guy who just doesn't understand anything and doesn't want to put his dick out and just say this is what I think. But I definitely think that people need to question more and really understand things better through their own mind, through their own thinking. Don't take what I say. I'm telling you straight up. Don't even take this video and just believe everything I say. Question it. Question everything. Because I think when you do that, you realize that things are muddled with bullshit. And you really weed that out and you're like, wait a minute. Why is this a certain way? Why are people paying so much money for talisman of dowsing? Why are people doing these sort of things where it's like they are not investment advice and everything like that. But I'm saying like if you ask these questions and really try to delve into the inner workings of different logics and whatnot, I think people learn a lot more. And honestly, even if it's not just to get closer to the truth, it's really just to like use your brain, man. Your brain is a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's like this, honestly. This is in here. And if you don't think, then really you just become a squaggly, squishy, muscle. And it's just, you get little, your wrinkles start to shrivel up and you become a smooth brain. You don't want that. It's not a good way to be. And I know I'm rambling a lot here, but I just want to say that ultimately the content I make and just overall my whole view on things is I like to have an opinion. I'm just talking to the community. I'm doing these videos because I like to, and Flesh and Blood is amazing. But ultimately, I think there's a lot of things on the surface, especially in the lore and the artwork, man. Especially like on the surface, it looks one way, and that's a perfect metaphor in a way. I want to say, but it's not a metaphor. I know it's not a metaphor, but it's an example. I would say the lore and the artwork are example of bigger aspects of everything in the world and everything in Flesh and Blood. It's on the surface you might see like a pretty little tree and a pretty little rock and everything in Flesh and Blood. If you see the picture, it shows as one thing. But if you delve deeper and you look into the inner meaning of things, you find things out. And that's beautiful. It's what made me fall in love with the game. There's the inner meaning and different things that are in the background that aren't in the front and aren't just right in front of your frickin' face. If you just try to think and ask questions like, hey, why is it that way? Why is it like this? You try to really put the puzzle pieces together and form a complete picture of what you're looking at. And that's really important. And I want to sum it up too and just say, hey, if you ever disagree with anything that I say with Flesh and Blood, with anything, I totally respect your opinion. It's very valid. It's all good. And I just don't want to get down to the aspect of this is Bronson's show. And I know that a lot of people think I self deprecate. And, I do. I just say I'm a normal guy in a normal room not financial advice and all this stuff. And I do self-deprecate, but in a way, self-deprecation is reducing my glass. That's me taking my glass of water and me throwing my glass of water out. That's me just saying, hey, look, I'm a normal guy. I'm open to everyone's like perspective and I'm open to different ideas and opinions and I try my best in that. I try not to be as polarized. And of course, I don't want to make up shit to you. Of course I have my own opinions and I'm not telling you my glass is completely empty every time I take on different ideas. I try my best. I'm telling you what I want to do, but ultimately I think that that kind of thing that keeps me grounded is something it's really trying to say, hey, my glass is almost empty. I'm trying to take on more information that is alleviating my preconceived biases and opinions and ideas. I'm putting them to the side and I'm trying to learn more information. And it's just funny too, because it's like it's weird how we're in this world where thinking and doing things differently and thinking from different ways and different forms of different thought processes is shunned really. It's looked against. It's lesser of. And you know and I'm gonna rant a little bit at the end, but there's a one community in particular that I find fascinating, and that's the Wall Street Bets community. And I know that that community has changed drastically in the last 6 months, especially. But when everything was hot in that community and everything was ape strong, diamond hands to the moon, it really fascinated me that they just all like they all self-deprecated to the maximum they could and they said their opinions and they were just trying to be funny and they were all like nice, like they were all assholes to each other, but they were doing it in a way where they said, hey, I could be fucking like wrong as hell, but here's my opinion. And I think that's perfect. That's saying, hey, my glass is empty. I'm interested in other things. I could be wrong, but here's the way I look at it. And that's beautiful. And it's beautiful in its own little way, in its own special little like asshole kind of way that people interacted like that and people were open to different ideas and opinions in that sort of way. And even though you know I don't know how great that information source is, and I don't know how great the opinions and all this stuff is on the message board. It's the fact that the community as a whole in that little subsect, for the most part, was interested in other people's ideas, and they like opened up and they said, "Hey, I'm just I'm a smooth-brained ape. This is what I think." And people are like, "Hey, you are a fellow ape. I don't understand what you said, but I have diamond hands to the moon." It's just it was a community that really respected and acknowledged other people's for the most part. I'm just saying this generally. Of course, there's different things that could not have been something like that. Like there could be instances where that didn't happen. Of course there are. There's 7, 8, 9 million people in that community, of course. But generally speaking, I think that they really grasp that concept of just keeping their minds open and saying, this is how I feel. Because, investing in general, too, what you realize is humility. You really do. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you really haven't really gone through such event that really makes you like being kicked in the balls. Like if you've never been kicked in the balls when you're investing, I'm sorry, man. Like you just haven't had that coming of age moment in your life yet, and that's okay. And hey, maybe you're much better than I am, or maybe you're lucky as hell. Either way, it's great. But I just think that whoever you are in investing, there is points where you get things wrong. And when you get things wrong and you're investing and you have cheddar cheese on the line, it hurts. It is a huge kick in the nutsack, and it's happened many times to me in the past. It'll happen many times to me in the future, and it's just something that you realize that you need to have humility, and that's the whole thing with the glass half full, half empty, and full. It's like if you have your glass full and you think, "Oh, I'm on top of the world. I know everything about investing." Blah blah blah, and then something happens. You really realize that maybe you shouldn't have your glass full. Maybe it should be a little empty. So you take on more opinions. You don't say things for 100% sure. And that's the whole point of this video. I just want to explain that a little because it's a theme on my channel. And I know people think I might be a Debbie Downer about myself. No, I'm open to other ideas. And a lot of times I rant at stuff. And I know people might think I'm very polarized in certain ways. And sometimes I am. Sometimes I just want to rip the shit out of some subject because it's a lot of fun. But ultimately, I really like to look at things differently. I like to think and ask questions about certain subjects and ideas because that really gets closer to the truth and the hearts of the matter. And it really gets you thinking in a different way than everyone else.